this works then. Right, this is looking good. Right, here we go. Let's get that up. Let's see then if this is going to work. Whack that in there. Here it is. Right, the link's in the chat now. Let's see. That should be fine. Okay. Why is it private? That shouldn't happen. What's going on here? It should not be private, it should be public. Right, we're live. I think we are live. I'm completely winging this one, lads and ladettes. I've literally just I've used this software before, right? But I really wanted to be able to like quickly change between screens and stuff, and I haven't figured out how to do it, so I'm going to do it the really long way, and we're just going to go with it, to be honest. Okay, I can see some viewers coming in. This is good. Means I've done something right. Obviously, say hello in the chat. Obviously. What's a bigger disappointment with share price? You're not wrong, Murray. You're not wrong. Oh, and this is what we hope Havieron and everything's gonna be. This, I think, I googled Olympic Dam, which is a huge, like, it's one of the biggest uranium and copper mines in the world. It's in Australia, and we hope our deposit will end up turning into one of these. But this is good. You can all see it. Welcome, everyone. This is literally just me going to be rambling about various things. Yeah, give us something good, Magic. Need it after that week. I'll try my best, Patrick. I will try my best. So, obviously, I'll wait for a few more people to tune in. I've literally ripped this idea off of GGB Help Guys, because they done one much more professionally, might I add, than what I'm about to do. Okay. Oh, oh, your first investment, Brandon. Well done. You've picked a good one, I think. 19, really good age to start. Much younger than me as well. I'm only I'm in my mid-20s, and I've been getting started. So it's good to get ahead, make mistakes early on. Hopefully this isn't one of them. I'm quite sure it won't be. But yeah, get those mistakes out of the way, learn from it, and hopefully you'll get to invest smartly and bring yourself a good future, mate. Yeah, we'll do drill results and Scally, Murray, no problems. We'll get into that. Well, I'll have to pull up like the RNSs again because I wasn't sure what content we'll talk about. I was going to just take questions on geology and stuff like that. Pull something out of the hat. We'll try. Okay, so what I'll do then, this is just an image I've thrown up just for like the first little bit. We're gonna get into some stuff now. Hopefully you can now see that the thing has changed. We're gonna start with the chart, right? We're gonna start with the chart because I think we need some perspective. Let's get the weekly chart set up. For anyone who does not use charts, I want to put this out there right now. We want to. I'm just checking on my stream that this is loaded. Yes, it is. Brilliant. No problems, Lucas. I'll be flitting back and forth because I'm using a laptop. I haven't got dual screen. I'm not going to be able to be like looking at the chat and then talking. I'll have to keep flitting back. Hopefully you can bear with me. But we'll start with the chart then. We'll start with the chart. So obviously, Greatland Gold is a huge. I still think is a huge success story of AIM. When you consider the AIM market, most people lose money on the AIM market, and a lot of companies turn out to be rather poor investments. Well, I think from this chart so far, then Greatland Gold is certainly an anomaly in that regard. Didn't really do a lot for a number of years. It's only really sort of the beginning of last year that you really see this huge move. Obviously, there was activity back here. I think that was related to the Ernest Giles and Newmont stuff. That kind of fell through. This was before my time. But obviously, we get this big move. And if you actually take it from that move, if you pay attention to this percentage figure over there, then if you take it kind of from the start of 2020, then it's been more than 1,000% growth up until the point now. That is absolutely unbelievable. Like if you bought in at the start of 2020, you would have done a 10-bagger. And I don't think I need to tell anyone how rare that is. Like 10-baggers they're hard to come by. So for anyone who was invested around there, like you can sit on your hands basically. Like you don't have to worry about really anything, which is great. So I just wanted to put into perspective, like even though the share price has dipped like quite considerably from the top there, the overall share price growth is immense. And well, from the chart, even at the moment, it's bullish. From a weekly perspective, this is bullish. If it holds this zone, especially, like this is just sort of correction, and then you could see it move up. Like this to me is still a bullish looking chart despite this big drop off, which we all know was kind of fueled off the back of Scadawag, and we've talked about it in the previous video with the Scadawag RNS, right? It's a huge overreaction. Like you only have to really think about it. Like from here and pretty much all the way up to here, I'd argue like 80+% of that move, if not 90% plus, is all based on Havieron. So it's if you assume then that 90% up to 37 pence, right, is Havieron, all that news, with very little coming from the ways of, Scadawag or any other project, for us to go from 37 to 24, representing easily 25% plus drop, that does not compute. It does not compute. It's illogical. It's about as illogical as the GameStop move. Which, hopefully, I don't know if any of you have participated in that, but I've had a bit of fun. I'll jump down to the daily as well, because we can see some more interesting things. When I do my chart, and I always have I use exponential moving averages. You can use moving averages, doesn't really matter. All of them stacked up in a line, bullish again. That's what you want to see in a share. You want to see that run like that. Now, obviously, off this drop, you've got some that are now crossing to the downside. But if we go and look where price is right now, you can see that we're back in September. We're in this range. We're kind of range bound between these sort of zones here for quite a long time. So that top zone there, false breakout over here, top zone here, is acting as pretty strong resistance. That then when it breaks at some point, if it is going to test, it's going to become support. Now price today closes just, and I say just a bit below that support area. Okay, price has been coming down. It's hit this support area. It's a shame that the green, which is the 100 EMA, doesn't line up with this area perfectly, but it's kind of there. But the key thing for me is that this, I tend to use the RSI. I don't know how many other people here use the RSI. I'll check the comments in a minute. But we're oversold. Like we're now below into the 30s. We're actually at, if you look at that number, 25 or 26. And if you want to know on the daily time frame, you have to go back a really long time before you see RSI here. You have to go back all the way. Really, there's April 19. Doesn't go oversold actually. It kind of gets close but doesn't quite go. You have to go back to here in January 2018, more than 2 years ago. Okay, and if we look at what price kind of does there, that I'm assuming that's when the Newmont deal fell through. Okay, which that is way more significant bad news than what we got at Scadawag. Like Scadawag, they've not even produced 7 drill results worth of results yet. It was 3 negative results, 3 bloody drill holes. Right, and then it's caused a 25% drop, people assuming it's a duster and all this kind of stuff. They haven't got a clue. They haven't got a clue. That is exploration. And the fact that we've talked about it before, pathfinder elements. I've hopefully displayed enough evidence in my latest presentation to show you that the pathfinder elements that we have got at Scadawag are remarkably similar to intrusion-related gold deposits. And has been used very successfully at the Canadian Malartic deposit. If you go and Google, should we? In fact, we'll do this live. We'll go and look at the Canadian Malartic deposit. So let's go and have a look. So they've even got their own website, but really what you want to do is you want to go to Agnico Eagle, who, for those, there might be some here who are part of Arosa Mining. Agnico Eagle are their joint venture in Colombia along with Newmont. But, they're 20... I'm not going to go and pull up their 2020, but, this mine produces over 331,000 ounces of gold a year, 628 ounces of gold production cost. They are one of the world's largest gold mines, multiple million ounces of proven and probable mineral reserves. We've got, this geology is extremely old. Like, this is Archean age. This is older than Havieron and elsewhere. It's a large tonnage, low-grade Archean gold, consisting of disseminated gold-bearing pyrite. That is basically what we've got at at Havieron and also at Telfer. But, you know, this is a huge deposit, and that vectoring process, which I was trying to describe with the Pathfinder elements, is essentially how you can try to find one of these things. So I'm not saying there's going to be a guaranteed one of these beasts there, but I'm just saying that is when you find good Pathfinder elements in a drill hole, right? That's your starting point. That's like, okay, we're in the right sort of area. Now we just need to know what direction to go in. Right? It's so rare that you get bosh, you know, big gold deposit like they did at Havieron. Right? It took years, in fact, to get to our stage because New Crest, they couldn't even get through the cover. They couldn't even get through the Permian cover at half the sites. So they didn't even know it was there in the first place. They thought the area was barren. So imagine at the time, they released those results to the public. I bet they reacted in the exact same way as what they've done with us. Oh my God, they've gone and spent all this money. It's not there. It's a duster. Imagine their faces now, the same drill team, going, oh my God, we were on it. If we just drilled deeper, if we just had the technology to go a bit deeper, we would have found, you know, 4.2 million ounce on a mineral resource estimate. I think there was a recent video that was posted from that. I think he's a Canadian or an American bloke. He does reviews of like silver and gold prices, and he explains that there hasn't been a 3 million ounce gold find in Australia in the past 3 years, and that's what Havieron is. Havieron is at least 4.2, at least, because you have to think they haven't included any of the rest of the drilling in that, like in terms of the new drilling they've done, and in terms of the northern breccia and eastern breccia. So, I mean, I hate to be like a ramper or anything, but I'm just saying, like, this huge drop off here is a joke. It's a joke. And I haven't actually looked on LSE today, but I can imagine. And please, people, confirm. Am I right in saying that there's been a load of nonsense today? People saying that it's going to 16 pence. 8 pence. Am I right? Let me go back to the to the chat. LSE has been toxic. Shocker. Would you expect the second Scadawag's results dropping us further if they're only Pathfinder results too? I don't think so. Only because I think that's priced in. I think people are selling because I think the immediate drop is people going, they found nothing. It's a duster. Sell. So they probably don't even care about the next results. Come to Telegram. I'm actually already in Telegram. You might not. I actually have typed in there before. I don't go there very often, but you know, it's. I think most of the people are gone. If you've been in the GameStop, you're going to appreciate this saying: paper hands. These are paper hands. No diamond hands here. We're the diamond hands. Well, I'm joking at this point. We need you live on next results night with myself and Potter. Yeah, mate. I'd love to join that. I was really impressed with that. I tuned in quite late because I was a bit busy with some work. But then once I was watching it, it was a really good setup you had, and you guys put me to shame with this. But no, like, I really do think that most of the paper hands, the traders, are gone at this point. Maybe there's continued sell-off, and I think this recent sell-off, you would have seen the wider market. It's been poor, and I think that has had something related to the whole GameStop and people moving some money to try and gamble over there. Possibly, there's been a lot of people chatting about how there's going to be another market crash. You know, I reckon that has had something to do with it. So, you know, there have been some ridiculous predictions. Tell me about it. Both on the low side, and I have to admit, at this stage, I'd love to see, like, you know, moonshotting, if you like, over £1. But I think we've got to take it one step at a time. I'm a bit more conservative than that. Yeah, definitely down to the wider market. I agree, Cyril. I think that's what's done it. But for me, the key is that we're oversold now. So there's a lot of people who trade around RSI and they go, oh, oversold, we'll have a bit of that. So there may be some buying based on that alone. I just think if you've got anything about diamond hands, yes, that is what we are. We've got what's it called? People that have been holding since sub 5p years ago. I mean, people that have been holding since the Ernest Giles breakdown. That's whew, you've got stronger hands than most. Stronger hands than most. Yeah, exactly, Stuart. Completely oversold. You were saying it on your stream. You were saying about how you're not worried about the price, and if it goes to 24s, 25, people shouldn't care. If you go and buy it, because really, I mean, this is not investment advice. I need to get that out of the way. But I mean, if you've been following this story, and you know about Havieron, you know about the broker targets and all this kind of stuff, then you'll know that this sell-off here is an absolutely beautiful buying opportunity for anyone who's kind of much more longer term. We're heading towards a pre-feasibility study, hopefully by the end of the year. That's where the real money starts to come in, because once that gets verified up, that tends to be where some more conservative investors like to put their money, on the value chain, because it's now beyond sort of the exploration phase, Yeah, I've been in 4 years since 0.005. Wow, that is this you found real gold here, Stu. Real gold. Ernest Giles, I was there when it went in again at 19. Went in again 19. Yeah, this is what I mean. When it comes to the whole geology stuff, obviously when I talk about the stuff in the presentation, I do my best to make it as layman terms as possible. And I feel like not a lot of, if not even on, I've been recently kind of on the Erosa mining board, you see it, like there's not a lot of private investors who know a lot about the sort of geology of what they're studying. And you don't have to have a degree level, knowledge. What I'm producing is way over the top. You don't need to know all of that to pick a good miner. It's proof really for many of you guys. You've been in since a long time ago, but I do try and provide it as extra level of confidence. That's just the way I like to do things. I think the key takeaways really from all of the presentations is that Havieron and the stuff that is kind of in and around our area. To me, the Patterson origin this is very recent exploration. Very recent exploration. Like the Patterson has really kind of not seen this level of activity in its lifetime, because there's been other areas, that have had much more focus. So what you're getting at the moment is kind of a bit of a gold rush, if you like, led by the likes of us and Rio Tinto with the Winu and the Havieron discoveries. So apart from Telfer, this area has been considered kind of anomalous. Telfer was an anomaly, but we've now proved that that's not an anomaly, that we've got another potential Telfer-like ore body there. So everyone wants a piece of it. Everyone wants a piece of it. You've got Wishbone in there. You've got Artemis, Antipa. We talked about Rio. I think Rincon Resources and Gunsind. Everyone wants a piece of it. Whether they're going to find anything is another story. But this seems to be basically the Patterson origin seems to be an eroded mountain belt, and on top of it, you have the Permian Australian outback desert basically, and beneath all of that, you've got metasediments, metamorphic rocks that are essentially being mineralized by granites. And there's plenty of granites in the area. I'll pull up that map from the... where are we? I've got to switch tabs now, haven't I? So this paper, this is one of the key papers I cited for a lot of the information, because this guy, Stefan Hageman, huge name in the geological community for economic geology. But this is like, if you actually look at the literature on Telfer, this 2016 paper is kind of the first paper properly analysing Telfer for like a number of years. And I got a lot of info, but this is quite a key diagram, the one which shows you that these orange blobs. All he's done is he's pulled the geological map, and he's just gone on Adobe Illustrator and edited it to his own tastes. But basically, you know, Telfer's over here, granite, 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 granite everywhere. These are the granites that have been identified currently. You know, these are the granites that have been either found at surface, in drill hole, or interpreted on seismics done. Now, this map doesn't show you sort of the eastern extent where Havieron is, but that area being new has not had the same extent of seismic work, it's not had the same extent of drilling. And so given how many outcropping granite bodies there are, it is not a leap of faith, really, to go and assume that you've got another granitic body kind of underlying where Havieron is and into the Artemis ground, etc., which they've interpreted on their own seismic map, which I will probably go and pull up. Artemis Resources. They actually have some of the best geological information I've ever seen, really, on an investor website. You know, they show you the map here and their targets. I don't know if here it is, that they've got an interpreted granite, and they did this based on a seismic line. So assuming that's present, the only thing we don't know is what is the composition of this granite. Is it oxidized? Is it reduced? That has implications on the ore model. Assuming it's reduced, that would produce produce a more, what we would see with Havieron. We would expect Atlas and Juno and places like that, if they're mineralized, to have pyrrhotite in them, because that represents a much more reducing type granite. But if you go more oxidized, you get something more along the lines of the Malartic area, which I think is characterized as an oxidized intrusion-related gold deposit. But the point is that these granites, this granite-rich orogenic belt that is essentially buried beneath the Australian outback, you know, is starting to become extremely prospective. And, you know, if you've got good land and you've got the money and you've got the geological know-how, you know, you're standing a good chance that if the geology is correct, because ultimately the thing you can't control is if it's there or not, right? You can't make up gold. You can't, if it's there, it's there. But it's looking like a very prospective area. And as I said, like, if you've got all of the right tools in place, the money, the joint venture, a good exploration team, and board of directors that are savvy, which is exactly all the ingredients that Greatland Gold have got and are progressing with the appointment of Sean Day, who is more of a geological board of director than what Gervais Heddle is. They're progressing much more. They have all the right ingredients, and I have full faith that if it's not going to be at Scadawag, it will be at their Jury joint venture, or even, if you were reading carefully in the RNS within Havieron itself, that they're going to strike potentially another ore body. Specifically in the Havieron area, if you read the latest RNS, which I will guess up now, we might as well do this live. You know, announcements. Let's go. Further drilling results at Havieron. Right, and you read the bits kind of further down. I have to find the exact place it says it. But they mentioned somewhere about there basically being additional targets within the Havieron area. And I really should have found this before. Stuart highlighted it in the GGP area. But it is in this. Because I'm feeling the pressure of how to find it now. But do you know what? Forget it. Taking too long. Point is, if you read this, or it's in the new Crest version, they mention that you've got new targets. Here it is. I found it as I'm that bit there. That bit is key, because they've clearly spotted. You know, I remember when we got the announcement when they said, "Oh, there's an eastern breccia." We were like, "What?" You know, that came out of nowhere. So they're clearly looking, and they know, based on their geological models, their all of their geophysics, that there's potentially stuff outside of the current Havieron area, possibly to the north. And I think, isn't it the Apollo target or something like that? I think people have been speculating over. Could easily be there. Let me go back to the whole. Imagine doing a cracking job. The majority of the LSC board don't deserve your advice. Well done. I've bought another 4K today. It's been an absolute steal. Keep it great. Well, cheers, David. Appreciate that, mate. I do my best to provide content that is a little bit different, because Paddy does such a great job with the satellites. You've got, other great posters in the bulletin board, BAMPS, Hydrogen, many others that provide kind of like a running commentary of like everything else. I kind of feel like what I bring to the table is this deep dive into the geology side of things, and hopefully with the combination of efforts from everybody pushing in the right direction, we can all stay and hopefully reap the rewards. I love the way you put it in simplified terms for people like myself. Oh, no worries, Andy. I do my best. Sometimes geology, man, they just create words. They make up words. They go, oh, we should call it something, and then someone creates up a random word. And they go, yeah, that'll be the name of something. Sometimes there's like 10 different words for the same thing, and it really, I have a bit of a pet peeve with the geology literature and just geologists in general. I think they're trying to make up words to make themselves more important, right? It's a problem in the science community in general. I think there's this like snobbery aspect. Oh, we're really smart. Let's go and create words that other people don't understand. So I try and break through that as much as possible. Maps showing magnetic anomalies are shown a lot for exploration purposes. How much do these increase the probability of finding gold, or are there too many other factors to consider? So with the magnetics, so obviously drilling is expensive. Like if you're going to do a diamond drill hole, that's going to cost you a lot of money per day. Even RC drilling is, even though it's a lot cheaper, you wouldn't just drill without using any sort of magnetics. That's the first step, and if you have reason to believe that the area has potential for mineralization, you would always go and apply some geophysical methods first to see if you've got potential for there to be ore bodies, right? So for example, back when Patterson wasn't so well explored, all you have to rely on is anyone who's kind of published any information about, say, there being collisional processes in that part of Australia, and you go, oh, collisional tectonic boundary, I wonder if there's any porphyry mineralization there. So you'd have a look, you maybe go and do some field study, maybe see if you can find some outcrops. You do what's known as geological mapping, right? Which is where every rock at the surface within a certain area, you're kind of describing. The difficulty comes when you don't have any rocks at the surface. Like, how do you know what's there? Well, again, you just have to use, more and more people are using stuff like remote sensing, which can help determine what the lithology might be. Something called hyperspectral techniques. There's all this kind of fancy sort of satellite things you can do. But really, like, if you want to see if there's a potential ore body there, magnetic anomaly is a good way to do it, because, yeah, ore bodies are going to be magnetic, sort of unmineralized rocks are going to be dead. Do you think they go deeper with the next ones after the Magnificent Seven? I hope so. I really hope so. I hope what they've done with by doing this is they've kind of realized that perhaps the mineralization is at a greater depth than 600. The thing you wouldn't just, the problem is that if you're going to go deeper, you're going to need a diamond hole more than an RC hole, and the RC hole is really goes down to about 600. So really what you're hoping for with an RC hole, which they didn't get at Scadawag, right, is you're hoping for a good anomalous figure. Ideally you want mineralization there so that you have a shallow deposit, but if it's not there, you want to see higher grades in gold and copper and things like that. That can maybe tell you that actually, yeah, going deeper there may be something worth exploring. But I think perhaps if they've got the money to, it may be worth sinking, especially kind of around where Kraken is. And when we maybe we may get slightly better results, we don't know yet, from the other holes, that they may then go, maybe it's worth sinking another hole there, for the what's it called, diamond hole, which could then maybe they can get right down to 1,000 and see exactly what's there. But I mean, we'll see what they do. Can't really know what the plan is. Let's hope. What I'm hoping for is one decent-ish result from the next set, with some really nice anomalous numbers, and they kind of go and chase that target. That's kind of what I was hoping for. Any academics currently working on the Patterson Telfer systems? Do you know what? I don't really know. I wouldn't be surprised if where's his name again? We go back. This guy, Stefan Hageman, he's a big researcher out in Australia. I wouldn't be surprised if he's got a project. Come to think of it, I can't remember which uni it is. I was Googling this a long time ago, and I think I did find like a funded grant that was basically, exploring the Patterson. Obviously, there has been past Geoscience of Australia work done in 2010. The most recent paper on the Patterson is at the Nifty copper deposit, which is by a guy called David Houston. So I know that he's quite an active researcher and may have some stuff ongoing in there. So at the moment, him, this Stefan Hageman, I will have a look. And if I find anything, I will put it in LSE. I'll put it on the LSE board to see it, where we've got, if we've got like a grant that's basically exploring this in an academic manner. Because it is a good question. I mean, is the screen blurry for anyone? Is it blurry? Hopefully not. On my end, it's not that blurry. Maybe it's just the way that your internet's like buffering or something. I don't know. But it's a good question. I don't know what your first name is. Something Miles. That was a good question. Have I missed anything higher up? Lost 70% with Ernest Giles and Bortz. Totally agree. By now, with blood on the streets, differences now we have world-class asset. Back then we had hopes and dreams. That's the thing. If you again, another really key slide towards the end of my recent presentation was the lassonde curve, right? So Havieron's way further along than what Scadawag is. Havieron at this stage is already funded as well. The thing what I like, the lassonde curve is it's kind of like all-encompassing, right? So it's meant to describe the activity of a junior miner from start to finish, going through all of the stages. But every company's different. And Havieron, luckily, with the joint venture and the way they've progressed the agreement, means that the whole funding for construction phase, etc., a lot of it's kind of done. Normally, you have, I don't know if any of you are aware of Horizonte Minerals. So Horizonte Minerals have got two absolutely brilliant tier 1 level nickel finds. But the problem is that they haven't got it funded. They have to go to the banks of Brazil and like a large consortium. So, and they're in the process of doing that, and it looks like it is going okay. But often at that stage is where some miners end up going under or getting kind of bought out for cheap, because they basically have to spend money maintaining the asset. They don't either have the permits or they don't have the money to basically be able to develop the project into a mine. So that's the risk with Horizonte at the minute. The asset's fantastic, but they don't have a joint venture like we do, where the money is basically being spent by Crest to go and take it to feasibility. And you've seen, as even more so along the way, we've got mining permits, we've got box cut, blah blah blah. That's all being done. So a lot of the risk is not there, right? Miles. Yeah, do you know what? Post PhD, I'd love to work in this area. I'd love to go to Australia. Australia and Canada are two of the kind of areas that I would love to go and work in, because I think for two reasons. First of all, I think geologically and just scenery and lifestyle wise, they're both excellent places. Second of all, I'm a big fan of like really old rocks. really, really old, like Archean, Proterozoic age material. I just think that period of Earth history is amazing. And Australia and Canada is chock full of it. Right, every Friday, Magic. Yeah, do you know what? Maybe it's just I've got to have. I definitely need to figure out a much better way of doing like this, so it's a bit more professional looking and stuff like that. So yeah, that will do. GGP got mojo back after this tremendous run. How amazing this investment is. Yeah. I mean, so I am on one of the Facebook groups for Greatland Gold. I'm in one of the investor groups. I get really, I can't help but get a little bit triggered by some of the comments. That I knew. When your share price goes down, it just brings out the worst in people, right? It brings out people that want to, put other people down for losing money. It brings out sort of this gloating aspect, and I just think, if you're the sort of person who gets off on other people losing money, you've got something wrong with you, man. Like, you've got something seriously wrong with you. I personally would like to see everybody make money. This is why I'm a big fan of this whole Reddit thing, and I joined in. I've got some GameStop. I'm holding. And I just think that's all about the little man kind of getting one over on the system, right? And I love to see great stories of people who have turned, however mental it is, putting like life savings on GameStop, turning what is essentially their lives into something they could never dream about. That's what we all want. And I don't really understand why it is that people, when they see a share go down, they're like, that person lost this much money. I told you so. You're a dickhead. You're a dickhead if you do that. And yeah, there was a few people doing that today on the Facebook group. I imagine it was the same with LSC. The problem is you can't stop it. There's always going to be people like that. I imagine... I remember when UFO alien metals really spiked up. And I was one of the people who was like, that's a pump. Like, I didn't think that was, a bit like GameStop. I thought this is going to end badly. But that, and it did, and it has ended quite badly. It has picked up recently, but it has, sort of more than halved in value. But I felt really bad for those people who kind of joined at the top. But you don't want to see people lose money. So yeah, I'm hoping that my content and everything else is providing at least some lift. Personally, somebody asked me, actually, going back to a question, how many ounces do I think this could be, the Havieron? That is a good question, Paul. And I don't like to get drawn on what I think, because I don't want people to hold me to account if I'm wrong, or like say, oh, you said it was going to be this, so I invested in it. And ultimately, I've kind of changed my mind. If you want to invest based on what I say, I can't stop you. I personally, knowing what I know about how mineral resource estimates tend to go, there's some absolutely amazing examples of where people. I think Telfer's one of them, where they produced a mineral resource estimate as like quite low, and it's grown to the beast it is. There's other times where it doesn't grow quite as much. I really, really want to see 10 million ounces. I really want to see 10 million. I think there's a good chance we can, because I think, given the information they've just provided in the RNS about other targets outside the Havieron area that they could explore. If that's a satellite deposit, even if that's only like 2 million ounces, that's a decent addition. They haven't included any of the rest of the breccia. Obviously, it's open at depth. So with all of that considered, you and with the current grades and sort of widths we're getting, we're still getting widths well in tens of meters at 2-3 gram per ton. I feel like 10 million ounces is not stupid estimate. If I'm really being greedy, I'd love to see 15. I'd love to see 15. 10 to 15, and this share is going to fly. It's going to go way. When they I think was it Beerenberg said 33p but that's like 50% risk. If you de-risk it, 66 pence. If you got it over time to 15 million ounces, provided nothing else changes, you're going more than that. So, and I feel like at that point, Havieron would be stupid if Newcrest was to let that one not be 100%. I feel like they would buy. I feel like with that, Newcrest would want to own that, because if you've got a chance of buying, especially if, like, for example, there's a dip in the share price like it is now, and then they get a bit of a discount to a takeover. That's all speculation, though. I don't know. I don't have a clue if Newcrest will ever buy out Greatland Gold or anything like that. But in terms of an end game, the end game, yeah, didn't they say 33 a penny? Yeah, I think they did. So if they're reiterating, despite, this is what I mean. It's like people see a dip in the share price like this, and based on 3 drill results, and they think that changes the whole fundamentals of the fucking company. It's like, what are you like? Do you not read? Do you not read? Like, do you not read these analyst reports and the content that Paddy provides, myself, other people? There's enough content out there now to really. There's 2 ways to play it. Either you're a trader, and if you're a trader, right, and you buy in and it goes down 20%, really you should be cutting your loss, because you're a trader. You need to move on to the next one. Got no problems with that. We've got different goals. Here. You're there to make quick money, and you accumulate that over time, and that's how you generate your wealth. No problems with that. If the other way you play it is the long-term hold position, and the information that has already been published by Beerenberg, Hannam and Partners, who have yet to update their stuff for a while, and of course myself and Bamps and all the other people. There's enough content out there to really make a case that buying at these levels is considered. It would be considered value, especially when you say that the RSI is oversold the way it is. So 66p was based on 12.5 million ounces. That's what I mean. If you ended up getting to that, I think 12.5 million ounces, and they're saying they're being conservative. I think that's what I support. I support that kind of 10 million ounce minimum is what I would be expecting from this. Yeah, exactly. I don't think a bid would come till all the stages are completed. I agree. You'd want to know that a lot of things are kind of certain before you would commit to that. So there's kind of multiple. This is what I love about this company, is there's multiple end games. You've got the end game where Havieron is an asset that could get bought. You've got the end game where Greatland Gold gets bought by Newcrest as a whole. You've got the end game where Havieron becomes a very good mine, and you're earning 25% of that. There's multiple wealth generation sort of paths here, right? So, which is not the case for a lot of miners, and it's not the case for a lot of sort of more speculative plays, So, bid maybe if price stays where it is. Yeah, exactly. Potentially, if it stayed like this for the whole year, I wondered if they would become quite interested at that point. Because that's the other thing. We're so early in the year, man. We're so early in the year. We're only. It's only going to be the end of January in a couple of days' time. And they call it dry January, and it's been a pretty poor end to the month for the market. I just don't think you can't take these results on 1 month's worth of price action to determine whether this is like a so-called pump and dump. I couldn't believe when I saw that today. I saw someone say that this is a pump and dump. I was like, you're not a very educated person in the market if you're saying that this is a pump and dump. Seriously, right? So yeah, that I hope. Yeah, this is pretty much all of my thoughts, just kind of coming out a lot more informally than what I do in the group and everything like that. Yeah, to break dry January. I actually think a lot of people. I've seen there's a lot. And there's another thing as well. With the recent market, the way it's been, most people have lost money in the last week. Most people have lost money in the last 2 weeks, because of the way that the market's gone down. So, I don't really know why there's people out there kind of not sort of panicking and almost treating themselves as an anomaly. you have to hold through periods like this, or if you are a trader, you really have to, yeah, know when to cut a loss and move on. Only lost money if you sold, yeah. It's only a loss if you sell. Stonks only go up. Take some inspiration from the Wall Street's bets movement. Some of them have been buying in GameStop right at the peak, and they are not selling. They are not selling. It's really quite funny. So yeah, that covers a lot about a lot of things, I think. So we'll quickly summarize then. So obviously going back to the chart, personally, I think this is an excellent position to start accumulating. Can it go down further? Well, nothing's impossible. However, if you look here, there's a line of support here for 20 pence, based on the fact that you had a dip here, it came up, a dip here, it came up, a dip here, it came up. And you've also got the 200 moving average lining up there, so there's plenty of support in the way. So people telling you that it's going to go to 16 pence, 8 pence are talking absolute bollocks. I like to think, I play a game of probabilities here, right? So it's not impossible it can go to 16 or 8 pence, but it is 99.99999% unlikely. Because of all of this and because of the fundamentals, like you have to play that in your favour. Right? So if there's people out there hoping, I want to see it go lower to 16 pence, you're going to be waiting millennia, in my opinion. It's like imagine you have an unfair dice. You've got 6 sides, but 5 of the sides have 6 on it, and one of the sides has the number 1 on it. Which number you're going to bet on? Which you bet on the 6? There's multiple reasons why this should hold this price and push up. Multiple reasons. There is not many reasons why this can keep going down. That's the point I'm trying to illustrate. So yeah, that and in terms of, I do a little bit of technical analysis, right? So we've bounced off the purple line several times. We broke through it on the Scadawag news. So we've actually, when you see candles like this, where you have like a sort of a body and a big wick, sometimes the wicks like to fill in. We filled in that wick, and in fact, if you take on the weekly, at least I think it is, you can see again like where this has kind of come up and down. It's testing this previous weekly level of support. I'm sure if you draw a Fibonacci line on here somewhere, it will be, depending where you take it from, it will be lining up. So lots of technical factors in our favour, lots of fundamental factors in our favour. Going to be going into a little bit of a news sort of dry spell. What's your background in geology? I assume you're new, Jerome. You don't know kind of stuff with me. I am a geologist in terms of like I am a PhD in geology. I did my master's in science 2 years ago in geology, and I got a first-class honours degree in it. So, and that was from the University of Southampton in the UK. So, yeah, that's. I would say I'm a very academic geologist, more than I am a practical geologist, mainly because I've stayed in academia. I have got fieldwork experience. I have been on field trips, but I wouldn't say there's a few sort of geos out there that may be better in terms of like drilling techniques and stuff like that, because I haven't really got any hands-on experience with that. So, but in terms of like, reading academic papers, geochemistry specifically is like my kind of main area of expertise, and mineralogy. I'm good with that. I'm very good with that. So that's what I bring to the table. Trace elements. Okay, yeah, this is a good question. I want to see more bismuth. definitely. Tungsten if possible, but bismuth is definitely a trace element we want to be seeing in increasing quantities based on what we see at Malarctic. Sutton alumni too. Oh, really? We've got another Southampton alumni. Yes. Still got Scadawag results to come maybe next week, though not expecting gold. Be interesting to find out more about the ground around there. Yes, definitely. Do I frequent Jesters often? Well, it's closed at the minute, but I have been there. Yes, I have been to Jesters several times. It is the Palace of Dreams, JG. I'm sure you're aware. No, I mean, yeah, trace elements wise, yeah, bismuth is a really good one. Off the top of my head, silver a little bit. But in fact, we really want to be kind of seeing a little bit, maybe a bit, silver is a nice sort of byproduct. But what the silver and the lead and the zinc told me is that this alteration is fairly distal. When I showed and I know I sped through it in the last presentation, if you go to the stuff where it's on the zoning, you'll see in that diagram that the further you get away from the granite and the alteration, you start to get more silver, lead and zinc, and that's related to temperature. So the temperature is cooling away from the Pluton, so you're getting lower temperature reactions and alteration, which usually typically leads to those sorts of metals. We want to see less of that. We want to get to a more proximal location. So although we don't want to see an absence of it, we would like to see our copper go up, gold go up, obviously, but we want to see bismuth going up. And yeah, tungsten, if possible, if it's a reducing granite. You won't get that with a oxidized granite. So hopefully that provides some information. It is a good question, though. There may be some others that they end up going for. Oh, and the other one, tellurium, TE, tellurium. Big, very important trace element, because you form... So one of the key things, the reason why you like these Pathfinder elements, specifically tellurium, if you find, is that I think I explained this maybe in my first presentation, but there are certain compounds that like to bond with certain metals, and we call those compounds ligands. And there's different types, but in a hydrothermal fluid, the most common ligand is chlorine. Chlorine minus will bond to copper, it will bond to various other metals. But tellurium is another one that really likes gold. So you can form gold tellurides. So if we're seeing more tellurium getting closer and closer to the ore zone, it would suggest a more tellurium-rich fluid. And obviously that would potentially be able to transport the gold. And another key thing, although this is much more academic, if they do end up putting some of the samples into a uni, one of the key things it would be fantastic if they knew. They do have some data from past work, but I would love it if they did some fluid inclusion work and they were able to identify some of those carbonic fluids. Because if they've got the carbonic fluids, that pretty much confirms intrusion-related gold almost. And the carbonic fluid is, from what I understand, the key fluid that will take out gold from the wherever the gold source is, be it in the granite, be it in the sediments. So you want those carbonic fluids because they will end up transporting the gold, which then, upon reaction with specific country rock, which carbonate is a very good one, you can take it out of the solution and precipitate it as a gold deposit. That is essentially the chemistry that you want to see. Do you think gold might be at a deeper depth than currently drilled at Scally? Possibly, yes. Because they only got the Punta Punta at Kraken. That's the gold-bearing rocks that are at Havieron. And the Malu formation, which is below the Punta Punta, is the host rock to Telfer. We've got no evidence that the Wilkie formation, which is the majority of the rocks they drilled at the other targets, is mineralized. They think that the contact between the two formations is where the gold could be hosted, which is a plausible theory. They just don't seem to have found that exact content. They've got an IP anomaly that they were chasing. They think that they haven't found the reason for that yet, which is encouraging. I suppose they would say that based on the data. So it could be, as we said, we've got to use the vectoring approach where we move in the different direction and hopefully see better pathfinder elements and hopefully a kick up in the gold and copper at that specific stratigraphic level that would hopefully tell us where there's a potential ore deposit nearby. But I would drill deeper because we want to be in the Punta Punta. Personally, I don't think the Wilkie formation is mineralized. I don't think it's got the right characteristics. It's majoritarily quartzite. It's majoritarily kind of it looks to me like it could be a shoreline type sediment, which doesn't really seem to have much carbonate content, which means it's kind of less reactive. It doesn't seem to have much in the way of any organic matter in there, which unlike a black shale, which is nice and reducing. It doesn't seem to have the right characteristics to me that it could be a good I suppose you could call reservoir. Whereas Punta Punta's deeper down, you want to get into that really, and they've only really got into it at Kraken. So for me, the other Kraken result is the one that if there is going to be a good one, it'll be that. Was there enough you saw in the first 3 that gave you hope for a hit eventually at Scadawag? Tough to say. They've got the pathfinders, which suggests they're in the right sort of ore-forming environment. It suggests that they are in a distal alteration zone to a potential ore body system. And somebody asked a fantastic question in the Gmail on my Gmail, and it was basically whether or not Scadawag is an alteration zone to Havieron. And it's a plausible idea, and it's a good question. I don't think it is. I think the distance, given what we know about kind of how far alteration zones can occur around intrusion-related gold deposits, it would seem that Scadawag is a little bit far away from Havieron for that to be the case. It's also on the other side of a thrust fault, and depending on the timing of things, it may not be correct. But it's a good question. So that's worth exploring for the company. But no, I think in the first 3, I certainly wasn't there going, oh my God, there's nothing. I wasn't there selling like a paper-handed bitch, so to speak. It's basically, they've got to drill a bit more. They've got the money to do it, and they've got to use their geological models, all of the information available to hopefully select some better sites where they can find it's basically an increase in those same mineral elements that they were getting, which is exactly what hydro is. Hi hydrogen, nice to see you here. Which leads me on actually to that very same point, that vectoring process. So if you haven't seen the last presentation, please go and watch it, especially near the end where I describe basically if you drill and you get, let's say if I drill a hole, right, and I drill it, sort of. Do you know what? I'm going to quickly, before I get onto this, I'm going to quickly get rid of this chart because we don't need to see that anymore. We can just go back to this. So basically, if you drill a hole and you find, say, 2% bismuth, 2%. So I'll keep this really simple. 2% tungsten. Yeah. And you're like, oh, that's a bit bad. But we might. Based on kind of what we think the geological model is saying, we might want to go a bit further north. Maybe we'll drill a bit further north. So let's say you go a couple of kilometers north. You drill again, and this time you're getting 10% of those same elements. You're like, oh, well, we're going in the right direction here. We're going in the right direction. So you keep heading in that direction, and then you may overshoot it a bit potentially, but then you basically can fingerprint or telescope in, or what we call vectoring, into where it is. So, I mean, this is the Olympic Dam sort of mine that, or one of them. If you say drilled a hole out into sort of this area, you'd find that the ore metallurgy, the elements you're getting, are going to be potentially lower in percentage than if you was to drill here, right? So you would maybe have started drilling all the way over here and then sort of stepped inwards and eventually found this. That's basically what you do. Will they go to Punta Punta at Scali if that's where it's been found? I would hope so. I think if you're going to use the same model at Havieron, you have to go for the same host rock, which is Punta Punta. I don't think the Wilkie they'll find anything. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong. From what I know, it just doesn't seem like it's got anything in it. What characteristics do you see at Teach? Good question. I'm not really a geophysics expert, so I could be completely clutching at straws. Let me see if I can bring up the actual image, right? I'm going to have to get the PDF, aren't I? I'm going to have to get the PDF. Let me just get the PDF, because maybe I can sort of talk around it, and we'll go from there. But basically, Teach shows it shows the right magnetics. From what I understand, it's quite similar to the other sites. Although I don't really know about like what the gravity anomalies are doing or what the sort of other geophysics is doing. I just think if they're going south, then they must have reason to go south based on what they think those elements are going to do. Also, the thing about Teach is it's on the western limb of the Scadawag syncline. So the Havieron is on the eastern limb of that same syncline, which is the western limb of the anticline, because it's a syncline and anticline pairing. This is just a theory, but if Teach is the same, if let's say your rocks at Teach, providing that the thrust fault and anything hasn't displaced anything too much, but let's say the rocks that you're finding at Teach basically are in. If you was to draw a strike line between Havieron east-west, you would hit Teach. It's pretty much in alignment. So you would expect the same geology at Teach as you would at Havieron, providing all the timing is in place. It's on the western limb as opposed to the eastern limb of the same geological structure, which means really, providing there hasn't been any further like compression towards the west or anything different, the structure and the deformation that's been put on it should be reasonably the same. So there should be a lot of similarities with Havieron in that regard. Just kind of speaking off the top of my head and kind of because I can't find the bloody geophys diagram now because I haven't got the PDF. I'm going to see if I can find it. Here it is. I think this is this one. And so based on that, I do think that Teach will show a lot more promise than the other ones, if I'm correct. So I have actually now got it, but I've had to download a PDF. Oh no, it's not even on here. Do you know what? Forget it. You're probably aware of the diagram. It's got a lovely white bullseye anomaly target, and it's showing it could potentially host some good mineralization there if it has got the same characteristics based on the factors I've outlined as Havieron. Okay, no guarantees though. No guarantees. It might not do, because there is differences in terms of the structure and the metals that we're getting. Because I think personally that Scadawag is more copper rich than gold rich. It appears it's more copper rich anyway, based on the soil geochemistry. And based on that, you would assume it's coming from a slightly... This is why I don't think it's a distal alteration to Havieron. This is the primary reason. Is that I think Havieron is coming from a reducing granite, and that's causing the brecciation, that's causing the ore-forming environment. Based on what we're seeing, at least so far, it appears that Scadawag is coming from a more oxidized granite. So if you've got different granite sources, and I think the different granites are based on their composition are coming in at different times, the timing of Scadawag would be different to Havieron, and thus would not be would not represent a distal alteration zone to Havieron. But that's just my opinion based on what we have so far. Very limited evidence. It could well be the same age as Havieron. It could be alterations Havieron. The fact is we don't know. It's early exploration. You know, all this kind of stuff. Hi Theo Gambit. Nice to see you here. Could this be district scale as some people have suggested? Well, I was talking about this earlier. I think the Patterson is very underexplored, and it's only now it's being explored in the past year or so, which again is very early on. Because to me, the Patterson origin is a buried orogenic belt. Like, it was eroded, and then the Australian outback has, you know, desert's been dumped on top of what is a previous mountain belt that contains a bunch of granites that have, at least some of them, by the looks of it, generated ore deposits. So, which means, you know, you've got Havieron, you've got Telfer. How many more have you got? You don't really know. But Weenu's up north. Weenu looks a little bit different, but still looks to be related to some form of intrusion. So, you know, basically, yeah, I think there's signs that we've got district scale mineralization. And Havieron alone, you only have to read in the recent report, they're talking about new targets outside the current Havieron area. So they're already suggesting that there may be a satellite type deposit. So if you're talking about the district scale within Havieron alone, potentially we'll have to wait and see on that. It's quite exciting. I'm new to GGP, but I want to learn more about how to read those RNS better. I was watching GGP help and didn't really understand what they were talking about with regards to reports. Where should I start? Okay, so the first thing you want to do with RNSs is obviously read the highlights. Read the highlights, read the CEO comment, and then read the actual content. You kind of want to read the start, the end, and then the bit in the middle. It would help, especially when you're dealing with miners, if you have knowledge about what gram per ton is, you know, in terms of the grade, like why, you know, what does that mean? It would help if you know something about kind of what different drilling techniques there are. So what is RC drilling? It's reverse circulatory drilling. You might want to go and have a look at that. You want to have a look at what DD is, which is diamond drilling. You want to go and have a look at that. That will help you kind of visualize what's going on, right? In terms of interpreting the grade and whether it's good or not, the key things are you want good widths, you want good grades, and you want it to be shallow if possible. Now, unfortunately, Havieron is not exactly shallow, and there's definitely deep mineralization there, but with improved technology and the block cave methods that New Crest use, it's not a problem. But in terms of, RNSs, like the most recent ones at least, we tend to ignore price monitoring extensions. Don't give a fuck about those. Anyone can see based with their eyes what the price is doing, so nonsense that is. Exercise of options, that is basically where, you know, various employees, board of directors, they basically tell you whether or not they are getting more shares or based on the options they have or warrants. Obviously, if there's a report that says like placings, that's obviously issuing new stock. You probably know all of that. But specifically, for the actual results, if you're, you know, you want to be, it's hard because if you're new to mining stocks or mining in general, you can't really, you probably don't have much of a base to go on in terms of like what's a good grade, what's a bad grade, what's good widths, what's bad widths. If you're really interested in that, or like you first of all, it's an experience thing, but you can get a little bit ahead by kind of just comparing some reports from other companies. You know, if you're seeing, and it will depend what deposit type, but if you're getting tens of meters at more than gram per ton gold, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's different if you're chasing a lead zinc deposit or something like that. It's done in percentage terms, but that's kind of what it is. Hopefully that helps. I know it's tough sometimes to read these RNSs, but Hopefully that helps. At Have, there is gold on the outskirts of the main site. Do you think it might spread into Artemis open land or all in Greatland New Crest owned area? Well, I mean, Artemis borders Havieron. It's not like, it's pretty much the neighbour to what Greatland Gold is. I look at their map, and we'll do that. We'll have a look at their map, and I'll kind of explain why I think there is potential. Oh, I'm glad Theo Gambit. I'm glad that's helped a little bit. Feel free to shoot an email to me, magictrades212@gmail.com, if there's specific parts you don't understand, because over time, with a bit of help, you will understand. I'm happy to help. But yeah, we'll quickly go back to the Patterson map, right? And I might have to get up the RNS that they've got. Where are we? I'm gonna have to. Oh yeah, I have to do this thing, don't I? I have to do this thing. Oof. Oh, look at that. So this is the main like interpretation they've got Artemis, and you look that you've got targets: Nimitz, Enterprise, Atlas, Juno, Voyager, blah blah blah. And they've got a series of faults that they've mapped on, and folds and stuff. Whether they're truly there or not, I don't know, but we'll go with what they're saying. Nimitz is within the same kind of anticline fold with the magnetic rock units here, and they don't really show it, but there's basically two anticlines, sort of paired, tight anticlines here, that they're paired together. You've got Havieron at the tip here, within here, and then you've got Nimitz there. The Nimitz is if the granite is there, it's more proximal, because it's only here, and like you have less distance to travel. And you got the key thing with the Nimitz and like Enterprise and stuff around here. Like if you compare it, like there's less faulting around Havieron. There's a lot more faulting here. So there's a question of, does the timing thing, is that a destructive, or is that a sort of enrichment? Can that provide fluid pathways that could enrich a deposit? That's a question they're going to have to do over time. But no, like I think there's definitely potential for Nimitz, because Telfer is a doubly plunging anticline structure, and we've got two sort of anticlines here that are paired together, so it's kind of similar tectonic set or sort of structure to what Telfer is. So Nimitz looks encouraging. Atlas is right on the interpreted granite and on the mafic dike. So again, that sits off. There doesn't appear to be a fold there, so I'm not sure. Juno and Voyager are a little bit out of the way. I don't really know what they'll do with that yet. But and I'm not as well read up on like Artemis exploration and stuff like that. But I personally, I think the other good key thing to look at, based on what I've just said, so Nimitz, Enterprise. I'm not. I less so about Juno and Voyager, because I think that up here you're starting to get a little bit away from what's going on down here. So if we kind of focus on what's down here, if you go to see what Malarctic is doing, I'm going to have to bring up the geological paper actually. So for those that want to know, you go to Google Scholar, type in Malarctic, and some of these papers are open access. If they're not, you can probably get away with reading the abstract anyway. And if you Google the paper on images, you'll find the figures, which is the pretty pictures that you want to look at. Not this one, although this one isn't too bad. I want the Gaillard paper, because that has a really good geological map in it. Let's go since 2017. This is the one, I think. This is the one. This is the one that I took a lot of information, but yeah, it is the one. We want this diagram, I think. So this diagram shows you basically these yellow circles are all gold deposits that are located along basically this big deformation zone, this fault zone called the I think it's called the Cadillac Larder fault zone. And there is actually a better image than that. Actually, I've just thought of. We'll just go to Magictrades Geology. Is it going to show me? I've spelled it wrong, I think. This is the one, yes. So all of these, like you can see how many circles there are and squares all along this fault zone. And there's granites all the way around, like, you know, everywhere in the Canada area. I just think there's a lot of very similar characteristics about this particular area within the Superior province in Canada and what we see here. Like, we've got faults and thrusts, specifically a thrust fault, but, you know, fault zone, if you like, folding, granites, and then we've got a few and we've got Havieron here, but who's to say that Enterprise and Nimitz isn't further gold finds along the same deformation zone, especially if that's where the fluids are coming up? Again, this is theoretical. I've got very little evidence to prove other than an analogue, what we see at Havieron and the structure that's being interpreted here. Okay, so please don't think that, oh, he's spot on. There's definitely going to be gold there. They have to drill it. But hopefully that gives you a model for why they're doing it, and kind of not just drilling holes in the middle of nowhere for no reason, which is what some mining companies do, and people don't know how to tell the difference between clever and thought out exploration and just drilling a few holes, getting some money, pay my wages, and do it all again. Right? There's several mining companies that will do that. They are lifestyle shares. Avoid them. Yeah, we know Hav is open in multiple directions there. What is the deepest they can drill? I actually don't know. I would say you can from what I understand, you can definitely get down. If you do a diamond drill hole and you do it long enough, I reckon you could definitely get down to a couple of kilometers, I would have thought. Nowadays, a lot of the drilling, because you've got to think oil wells, a lot of oil drilling goes down to significant depths. And some of those drilling techniques are now being moved across to mining. But, you know, between 1 and 2 kilometers, it depends how much money you want to spend, I guess. I must admit, I reckon there's another resource you could maybe check my estimate. I would imagine 2 kilometers, though. Given the most recent Havieron drilling results, what do you think the resource estimate currently stands at for Havieron? Oh, I have no experience with estimating resources, although it's a course or a topic that I'd love to end up learning, maybe in a job after my PhD. With the extra drilling and what we're seeing with the widths and the addition of some of the extra breccia, I would expect first update. Let's see if we can get it over the 5 million ounce towards 6 million ounces. And then from there, get it on to 10. That's really what I'm thinking as a stepwise manner for how you can, you know, upgrade a deposit. So I'm really not sure. I can't really provide a really confident answer for that question because I don't know really. I don't know about the maths and what I have to do for assumptions to estimate that. I'm sure someone somewhere in the LSE chat, one of the smarter maths people might be able to do it. So if I was to hazard a guess, and an educated guess, I'd say 5 to 5.5 million ounces would be the next update. Hopefully 6, and then incremental improvements up towards 10 to 15. How big do you think Havieron could be? Is there an end to it? Where he just keeps going and going until like we hit the core? As I said, I mean, I want I want 10 million minimum. You know, preferably up towards 15, because then as soon as you get in there, you're getting more. You're going to have a, even without anything else, basically Beerenberg would have to upgrade their target to more than 66 pence, which is, and we all want bigger estimates of share prices, don't we? And then when do you think the next MRE will be released? Probably, well, they're going to be restarting. Well, they drill, Newcrest are drilling constantly, but I mean, all of the activity then really is starting from March onwards. So I reckon middle of the year, maybe July, something like that. As far as to guess, you're probably going to get a few more updates before that about, you know, extra infill drilling, defining that eastern breccia, maybe some drilling that's been done at the other targets within the zone, you know, around the Route Apollo. Am I in ECR2? I'm not, but I have it on my watch list. The Bailston target looks pretty good, and I you know what's funny? I said I'd get in at like 3.6 pence or thereabouts. I have a friend who's in it, and there was nice support. And then it broke down, and it's now, with the rest of the bloody market, it's just gone down to like 3 pence, bounced up to about 3.2. I think it's actually quite a nice price. What I like though is that they've got their own drill. They've got their own drill called Midas, and if it has got the Midas touch, then brilliant. Particular type of geology that really excites me more than others. I mean, I love like really old rocks, so stuff that's Proterozoic and older. Oh no, don't worry. It wasn't asked. I actually just rambled it earlier, but it's nice to be asked. Yeah, so rocks that are basically older than the Proterozoic, specifically within the Archean. And the reason why is because the Archean, to me, is one of the most interesting and important geological periods in Earth's history. It's when we get plate tectonics. It's when we, like true plate tectonics, like subduction. It's when the atmosphere forms. And it's when we get a lot more, well, we start to be able to form more types of mineral deposit because of the fact that we've established plate tectonics. So I love, and the rocks are just, they always look cool. There's also a specific type of volcanic rock that tends to only form in the Archean called komatiite, which is you find a lot of it in Australia, but they form some really nice textures. And often komatiites will host nickel and platinum group element mineralization. So you get a lot of really good nickel PGE deposits in Australia as well. But yeah, I love that area. And also, there's a cool period a bit younger in the Proterozoic called the Snowball Earth. Worth checking out. And if anyone here is the fan of the Witcher games, The Witcher 3 specifically, the whole prophecy of the world freezing over is a direct relation to the Snowball Earth. So that's your fun little nerdy gamer geology fact. But ECR, good one. I've talked about Horizonte before. Horizonte is a nickel laterite thing in Brazil. And for anyone who is here in Arosa Mining, you would have seen me frequent the boards there because I have got a bit in Arosa Mining as well. Mainly because I thought they were a good price, technically speaking, from the chart. And also because I've been following them a little bit with regards to their projects. They also have a joint venture. There's a lot of good about Arosa that makes it better than a few others. And I suppose the last one that's on my watch is just simply because it's had a big pump, and it's also local to me in terms of Southampton, is Oriole Resources is on the watch list as well. It's obviously had a big run, but I trust the people in charge, mainly because, well, the lady who gave the presentation in November, December time, Claire Bay, has given a talk for our student chapter before. So I have a bit of faith in Orioles board. I'd like to get them to come down to Southampton again, to be honest. But yeah, big run in the share price. I'm not sure if I'm ready to put in yet. Will you join me on one of our live broadcasts going forward? Was going to wait, but may as well put you on the spot. Yeah, no problems, mate. No problems at all. I watched your live the other night, and I tuned in a bit late, but it was a really good atmosphere, and love to come on and chat. And I didn't do a webcam or face cam or anything, but I'm getting to the point where I'm like, do I care if I show my face? Like, I'm not one of those weird people who's like, I've got to keep complete anonymous online, right? Because I do talk in the Facebook group. I do talk in the Telegram ever so often. So yeah, well, when I come on your show, your thing, maybe that'll be the time. Hopefully, you'll probably be surprised. It depends what haircut I have, actually, because if I have the current hair I am now, I probably look my age. But when I get a haircut, I look about 12. So we'll see. Thanks for giving your time tonight. No worries, Anthony. No worries at all. I enjoy doing these things. I would love it if I'm thinking of kind of carrying on this YouTube channel into into other deposits in the future, when and where I kind of choose to kind of put some money. I was going to do one on Horizonte, but then I got busy. But there's some good research out there on Horizonte by a guy called over at SpongeShare. Have I had a look at Goliath in close detail, and if so, is the geology similar to Have? I haven't really looked outside of Patterson massively. I do know about the other targets, but because all of the exploration and everything's been done on Patterson, I considered the other stuff kind of irrelevant for the time being. So when they do choose to kind of start that up again, I'll definitely take into more detail. But I know personally, and we've said multiple times tonight, the value of this share at the moment is all on Haviron. This is a phenomenal reason. We'd love to watch this channel go. Oh, thank you so much. Like, I'm really happy with the support I get, and the fact that I've got over 300 subscribers is absolutely fantastic. I'd love to keep pushing it on, and eventually, hopefully turn this channel into a really nice geology resource. I had this discussion with a few friends of mine, and I was saying, like, I'd like to take this channel kind of more along the lines of, although it will definitely be more mining focused, I'd like to take it along the lines of, a bit more to do with the wider market. But for now, it'll be all mining stuff and geology based. That will always form a spine to this channel. Thanks for this, Magic. No worries, Ian. No worries. Lockdown haircut, wear a hat. Yeah, I could do. I'm not. It's even though geologists like to wear hats, mainly for the protection. It just seems to be part of the attire. I hate hats. I hate caps and all that. I need to get one of those big sun rimmed hats that can protect you from the sun, because I know that in the field it's important to have that. But in general, I don't like hats. I'm very low maintenance. Like, my hair is all over the place. I need to be better at that. Thanks, mate. It's been a pleasure listening and learning from you. Absolutely no problem, Stephen. Really pleased you turned up. Please, I cannot believe there's still 108 people watching me. 111. This is madness. Right, we're nearly at 10 o'clock, and I will go off in a little bit, because I'm going to go play some games, because that's what I like to do in my spare time. A little bit. GameStop is $328. Do you still think it's worth a punt even at this point? Do you know what? I don't know, because I don't think anyone can call what that's going to do. Apparently the shorts are still not squeezed enough, and they're going to be pushing on. I'm holding just for being a part of history, really. I am actually up a little bit on GameStop. We're not talking life-changing sums of money, but I only bought a very small amount. But now I'm just holding it for the banter, like everyone else, because I don't want to be paper hands. I want to be diamond hands. I'm not one of the. I'm not selling. Would love to see you do on HZM, mate. I can look into it. Where in the UK is great to go look at formations and stuff. I just think so definitely Jurassic Coast, where I currently live, Southampton, Isle of Wight, Dorset Coast, incredible geology, all focused around sort of Cretaceous age and sort of older rocks. Really good. You won't really get too much in terms of like ore deposits there, but you'll see some really nice folds. Cornwall is just immense. Like what happens around Cornwall, some of the geology around Cornwall is not only is it sublime, but there's some mad sort of complex tectonics that have happened down there. Specifically, like the lizard complex is well worth seeing. You're basically walking through the mantle. Scotland's amazing, which I need to go and do. I haven't been up to. Do you know what? I actually haven't done enough of the UK geology. The more I think about it, like Lake District's got some really nice intrusions and rocks up there. But yeah, you won't really get a lot of like really old stuff in the UK. If you want, the nearest place that has loads of old rocks is actually in Scandinavia. And a little bit in Wales. Yeah, what have we got here? Australian hat with corks on. Yeah, that'll be the look. Thanks, Magic. GGP is the safest investment. Yeah, it's pretty. I think it's quite safe. I mean, obviously, this last week, if you've bought at 37p right at the top or 35p, and that's your first investment, you must be kind of shitting yourself a little bit. And hopefully, if you are one of those people I've been watching, you will think that it will recover. I suppose the lesson to be learned when it comes to a lot of shares, and we all do it, right, is you can find a good company, but you got to find a good price. Okay, price really is king. So finding GGP and buying in at 35p, you've done half the work. You found a good company, getting a good price, and knowing what a good price is kind of a hindsight thing sometimes. The charts help massively. Buy at key structure levels, buy at Fibonacci levels, stuff like that. Like, at least then you can say you've got a justified reason. You've got to have a reason to buy. Don't just willy-nilly buy at 37p because fear of missing out. That's the worst thing you can do. Buying at key structure levels and Fibonacci levels, if you know what they are, or off the back of a significant drop, pull back to a moving average, anything like that. You've done the fundamentals. You just need a good price. That's all you need to do. What other stuff we got here? Had a very small part in Alba. Do you know much about Clogau? I know it's obviously. I know it's gold, and I know it's in Wales and near Snowdonia. I did. Do you know what? I've forgotten the geology. I did look at it ages ago, and it has dropped nicely. From what I understand, there is veins there, but I think is it in shale? Is it in like a black shale? And it's like it might be shear hosted. If that's the case, there's quite complex geology, and it might be worth looking into just for my own nerdy obsession. But on the topic of Alba, though, like the price it's gone back to now, looks reasonably attractive. If you get deep, because I know that they haven't got any assay or any news coming up for a few months, maybe until March. But a good release of March from current price levels, given what it did last time, you could be looking at a double your money type thing. And Wales has a history of gold. It does. It's Royal Gold Connection, which some people think it means that it improves the value. It may do actually. It might with a bit more sentiment there. It might improve the sale price a little bit. But either way, yeah. Alba is one that I think is due for me to have a look at from an academic point of view, just for that, because I like it. But then also from the price point of view, could it double? Could it be a quick in and out? Because it doesn't have as many fundamentals as, say, like a Greatland Gold, right? But but it's, if you know what the risk is and you're happy to, because I think with something like Alba, if it's more of a trading sort of thing, just got to get good risk reward. If you're getting 3-to-1 risk reward on a potential trade, you're buying at a structure level. Let's say you're buying at 0.33 and you're willing to take a 20% risk, but you're potentially looking at where the price target could be at 60%, 3-1. That's worth it. Just don't risk more than you can afford to lose, right? That's the game. That is all we do. All we do is play the game. And we play the game with what resources we have. Some of us have tens of thousands. Some of us have millions. Some of us have hundreds of pounds. But the point is, if you're playing the game sensibly, good reasoning, good risk reward, good risk management, all these things, you can take money from the stock market. It is possible. Cornwall's looking interesting too for mine. It has minor history, but lithium kicking off. Yeah, the lithium thing's a bit weird. I'm not really sure on its viability, but I know that there is lithium in some of the granites and the brines. The key one to watch is Strategic Minerals, because they have a tin tungsten deposit at I think it's called Redmoor. And I know the head geologist there, because he gave us a talk. And the exploration work they're doing there is really I really quite like it. The only thing is that I don't know how much of the market cap that specific deposit makes up of Strategic Minerals, but it's quite a good project. Thank you for answering my/our questions. I have one of subscribes and will keep following brilliant stuff. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dylan 2019. I appreciate the kind words, mate. Thanks, Magic. You really helped to settle my nerves tonight. We'll be staying for the long haul. Good man, Gene. Diamond hands. That's what we are. Gold breaks out 35p will go. Could do. If that's the other thing that's been kind of hampering a few gold stocks, isn't it? It's the gold's kind of just chilling around the $1,800. It hasn't quite surpassed the 2k mark yet again. You may have already answered this question, but I arrived late. Sorry for repetition. When do you think they'll start mining and not just exploring? That is a couple of years away, mate, because they haven't even got a pre-feasibility study yet at Havieron. But it is the speed of which they can get it to mine is a lot faster than a lot of companies, right? It's a lot of companies. It's because they've got the joint venture, because Newcrest are spending a lot of money and showing a lot of enthusiasm. It will get it to mine a lot faster than some deposits. Some deposits you'll find they'll find the deposit, they'll define it, and it could take 5-10 years before you see it get to a mine. I don't think that'll be the case here. Be like a couple of years, something like that, 2022, 2023. But we're in it for the exploration. That's where you can make very good gains. Of course, you can make good gains when it becomes a miner and starts generating revenue, but then that becomes a different investment proposition. If you want investments like that, go and look at one that I'm hesitant to kind of say it, just because I don't want to, because it isn't looking amazing at the minute, but I do think it's a turnaround. Something like Centamin, who have they have a big gold mine in Egypt, and all they did is put out one really bad production announcement, and bang, it went down like 30% from its high of £2, like easily more than that even. Could be a good turnaround, because they're gonna sort that problem out. And they are showing signs of sorting that problem out. But they produce revenues, and they're able to pay dividends and stuff like that. So, you want to look at, if you're in it for miners, you want to look at companies like Centamin, obviously Rio, Anglo American. If you can go and get into the Canadian market, Newmont, Agnico Eagle, First Quantum, and stuff like that. You want people who are already producing. That's where you want to go. Where are we? Where was I? Thanks, MT. I wasn't nervous, but I'm not even less than not nervous now. Thanks for your effort, Paul. No worries, old school Paul 73. That's all good, mate. Welsh Gold, if they get out of the ground, fetches a premium. Tin with a thing, Strongbow down the road, tin copper. I mean, yeah, Welsh Gold, it does seem to fetch a little bit extra just because of its links to the old royal family. Yeah, tin as well, yeah. I think you're referring to the Cornwall. That's the historic area for tin tungsten. You can go and see some of the old workings. It's still got, and you can pick up some nice samples, some quite nice samples there. Where are we? You ever watch the gold miner programs on DMAS? I do. Do you know, when I go home, it's what I do with my family. We watch that. We watch. We've got Aussie Gold Hunters. I'm a fan of because they search for the nuggets, the placer gold. That's always good. yeah, Yukon, the stuff in the Yukon, you've got gold divers, which is very risky and it's obviously dramatized a bit, but I do like that. There's a Jade program as well. There's a Jade one that's quite interesting because I don't really know anything about Jade. Yeah, this has been really good and kept me away from the toxic bickering on the boards. Honestly, try your best not to get triggered by that. Try your best to filter, ignore. There's just some total fucking knobheads out there that want to drag other people down. Don't let that negativity put you off of your own. And you know, even though, like, obviously listen to who you want, but ultimately you're the only person who can decide whether this is an investment for you to keep going with or whatever. Obviously, what I say, a lot of people seem to really enjoy what I say and take my opinions on boards, like just like Paddy's satellite. So that all informs your process, but ultimately keep doing your own research. I will not blame a single person if they want to sell in Greatland Gold. You know, it's up to them. I might think they're wrong. I might even think they're a little bit, you know, paper-handed. But I'm not gonna get really upset. It doesn't directly affect me too much. Have I looked at SML? I have had a look. At the moment, I'm not. The price just, unless it has done something recently, I'm not aware of. But the tin project looks good. I didn't really see much else. I didn't see that moving the share price so much. So if we have a look at SML. So it tried to break. See, this is what I mean. It's tried to break out. I mean, look at this candle. What a joke. It opens up here and then suddenly it's back all the way. This is extreme manipulation, isn't it? On the weekly chart. You can see it's a false breakout. This is what it keeps doing. Once it gets a nice clean break of that 0.5, then at that point, from a trading perspective, it becomes quite interesting. But it's been here forever. And, you know, this tin tungsten thing's been going on for a while. I just don't know. I think they need to do something. Maybe they're not marketing the company properly, like the board of directors or something, because apparently they've got a nice tailings project that kind of pays for some stuff. So there's good things about it. It just doesn't seem to want to go anywhere. I don't know. I don't know what that's about. What else? Does that mean you think the significant gain in the next 2 years rather than when gold actually starts coming out of the ground? Good. Taking my words into context. I mean, I don't know, but I personally I'm personally more into exploration to pre-feasibility study type investments, with the exception of which I do own a bit of sentiment, but I saw an opportunity there really to turn around where they like went from £2 to nearly £1 and thought that's a bit extreme. They were going well before that production update came out, and they're going to get that back, in my opinion. So I am more sort of advanced exploration to pre-feasibility study. That's where I like to go into. But so yes, I do think the most significant gain is in the next 2 years, rather than when the gold starts coming out. Personally, I'm glad you like the comment as well. Sometimes not sometimes. When I am just chatting, like I'm not anywhere near. I'm not really very formal. I can be, but no fun in being formal. What's your gut feeling about Patterson Range East? Yeah, I think the Jury Ventures are. I mean, the thing is, there's been previous work done there, so it's not completely green fields. So I have good feelings. I trust. The thing is, I've got a lot of trust in this company. I've got a lot of trust in the exploration and what they're doing, and who's in the company and the way it's run so far. Until that changes, there's a few things that can change. If that changes, or if they keep hitting negative results, and there's always going to be a point where something changes that you could sell, right? And you've got to realize that you can't just get wedded to the stock. As much as I'm saying hold and all this, at the moment I see no case for selling. I see no case for leaving this stock. But but no, I have faith. I have a lot of faith in what they're doing, and obviously the geology they can't control, but everything else they can. So Lee Creek Copper. Oh, that must be the project. Brenda Smith. Oh, is this someone that's involved in the board or something? That's with a lot of people with $1 million bond. Oh, see, that's the stuff you got to also take into account with these things. Unfortunately, you can get a really good area. I mean, for example, there may be investors in Thor Mining in here, so I don't want to annoy you. I was in Thor Mining. I just lost a bit of patience, and also I was not impressed with one of their RNSs where they basically put a fucking 5-year-old's drawing for a cross section in it, and I was like, "You taking the absolute piss out of the investors here? This is not good enough." And I got annoyed and I sold. But it may turn out to be good because I actually think some of their land is really good. I just don't really have a lot of faith in the people running it. And that is what can also make a difference. And up until recently, the Arosa Mining Board of Directors didn't have any skin in the game, which was one of the big reasons I hadn't invested earlier. Because I want to, and I know it's not much skin in the game, but at least they've got some money in, What did I think of Gervais moving aside? It was a bit of a shock. I didn't expect it. I don't think many people did. But I can see why, because ultimately this company is going to... This company is moving in a more mining-focused direction with Havieron. I think he's more exploration. He deserves a CEO role at a proper company, though. That man has grown and has done astonishingly well alongside Callum and the other team members at this company. It's rare you get board of directors that really, and you can see his share. He really does. He puts out extra content with the media. Proactive BR media. He tweets about it. This man he's very, very communicative in comparison to other CEO and board of directors. Yeah, he said he would leave a while back. He goes for blue sky. Exactly. That's his methods. That's what he goes for, I remember seeing the announcement. I just think I forgot that he said that he'd leave a while back. I remember being a little bit shocked. What do you think of a Russian mine? POG was doing rather well, then went down, is now hovering. I don't know it. Speaking of Russia, though, and this, I'll probably noticing there's 86, 87 watching still. I'll probably go in about 5 minutes, but we'll talk about Eurasia Mining. I was disgusted with what happened at Eurasia Mining a few days ago. Now, luckily, it has bounced back and good because I wanted that to happen. I didn't get in or anything, but when you're in a sales process and you're selling share, I can't see how that is allowed personally. Personally, I'd let CGP retain its 25 to 30% share of Havieron, and that would provide cash for further exploration, possibly a small dividend. Do you agree? That would be fine. As I said, I see multiple paths here. And that's one of them for a nice, sustainable income and sustainable. It would provide a lot of stability for the company. What are your thoughts on Power Metals and their CEO Paul Johnson? I think the bloke's brilliant. I haven't invested in Power, but he's another one. I'd love to. Do you know what? If I can find it, I'm going to go there now. I'm going to go on Power Metals' recent investor presentation because I was astounded by the comments he basically made early on in that presentation. I'm going to get it up now. Now, we can talk about the fact that they kind of don't own 100% of all the assets. Are they spread too thin? All that stuff. But bottom line is this, right? I'm going to show you this now. So I'll go back to the thing. Right. This is Paul Johnson, who has, for by and large, he's CEO. So obviously with CEOs, they all have as much as you want their interest to be aligned with shareholders. They're obviously in it as well for themselves, so you have to trust them to an extent. But when I read this is his own words, and he's talking about my job as CEO is to build a strong junior resource company, position the business to maximize the chance of large-scale metal discoveries. My performance in the months and years ahead will be judged on the basis of share price appreciation. He's setting his own bloody standards. He's setting his own sort of objectives. You know, how many presentations do you ever see where they speak in the first person? He's talking to you, and he's setting his goals out. He's even said, and I've never seen this, watch how I do, tell me how we can be better, and send me your ideas. My personal mobile number is on all market news announcements or write to info. I've never seen anybody do that. Never seen a CEO do that. This man is about as open. He certainly comes across as open and honest and as communicative as I've ever seen a CEO happen. So in terms of a CEO, 10 out of 10 for Power Metal Resources. I've seen him tweet and give like sort of podcasts about what's happening. You know, and it says here that he's a long-standing active private investor in the junior resource. Well, this is someone that's been in our position. Okay, so you know, we can talk about another time about their prospects, but you know, he's somebody that strikes me as he wants to be involved in something big. Whether he gets it or not is another matter. But this is somebody that is going to show ambition. He owns 7%, exactly. Skin in the game. These are the things that outside of the geology you do have to check. Have I had any comment correspondence from GH or NCM regarding videos? None at all. I did email Callum with my uni email address. He did reply, although I think they don't really want to engage too much with someone like me and everything, just because, you know, some of the questions I'm asking, I think, are definitely going to be deemed as maybe insider knowledge or something like that. I don't know. They've got their own rules they have to abide by. I would love to meet them. I would have loved to have been able to meet them in person at one of the shareholder events. That would be brilliant. That would be where I can really chat to them, I think. You mentioned you were not impressed with Thor RNS. What other shares have impressed you with their geo skills? Well, Arosa Mining for a start. I think they're doing some good work out in Colombia. I know the Oriole team fairly well, and I have a bit of faith in them. I just haven't looked enough in depth at Oriole, and obviously it's gone on a nice run. You know, so they're two specifically. I'm trying to think who else. Off the top of my head, I can't think. I've got a few miners on the watch list, but them two specifically, which is why I have Orosa Mining as part of my portfolio. Paul Johnson, another Blue Sky director. I don't know what that means. FOE that doesn't stay to stay out. So does he sometimes leave? I didn't know that. Maybe that's something to consider. But either way, he had skin in ECR, Rock, MNRG, to name a few as a director. Okay. So he has been involved in some of the other people. Hey Magic, thanks for the talk. So informative. Really appreciate taking the time. Glad to hear you also suffered the sticky floor jesters. Oh, is this another Southampton grad? This is amazing. Any thoughts on Cobra? I haven't taken a look at Cobra, I'm afraid. I wouldn't like to be drawn on anything, although I do know it's got a nice following on Twitter and some of the boards, you know. But yeah, anyway, Paul Johnson, got no problems with that guy, and Power Metal is one that is on my watch list. It's dropped a nice amount. The thing with Power is that they have so many projects. I just worry about their ability to manage them all. Right? You know, you only have to go on their projects, and you've got Australia, Botswana, Cameroon. Bloody hell, it's just they'll have one in Antarctica soon. So yeah, you know, but I think their immediate ones in Australia look good. Cameroon looks fine. The one in Tanzania, this is just to be a bit careful. This Hannity thing, the Katoro Gold, not the biggest fan of them. Not the biggest fan of their specifically their. I've done my homework on the CEO. Seems like he's what I was describing as a lifestyle investor. He seems like he talks a lot of waffle and doesn't get a lot done. From a previous presentation, the mining geo didn't seem too bad, but he kept talking. The CEO kept talking over him, so kind of that was a little bit of a red flag there. And that was early on in my investing. I put some money in Katoro and lost a bit as well. So maybe I'm just a bit salty, but either way. I'm not the biggest fan. So this is the only project I'm like a bit meh on. But I think from memory, the Australia stuff looks decent. But yeah, that's that basically. I got one in Greenland. Yeah, that's what I mean. They're everywhere. You can't escape power. They'll be drilling in your back garden soon. Another company that might be worth in terms of just they invest in projects, but Metal Tiger, they're another one who'd like to buy into lots of different things. And this is the other reason I sold Thor, is because they have a director in Thor who is part of Metal Tiger, yet Metal Tiger were selling their position. What does that tell you? That's why I couldn't. It was a red flag at that point. I sold at the bottom as well when I got out. I was an absolute moron for getting involved. I bought the peak and sold the bottom. Classic. Is what it is. Hopefully, anyone who is in Thor ends up making something out of that. Though I don't want to smash it too much, because you know, as I said before, no one should. I don't want to see people lose money. But I've been going for 2 hours now. I think that should probably call it a day. I'm probably keeping my mates waiting long enough about playing games with them anyway. But yeah, I enjoyed this. I will hopefully do it again. I don't know when. Yeah, if you know people that are interested in this sort of content, tell them to come over and subscribe. It's obviously free to do so. Emails magictrades212@gmail.com if you want to ask any further questions. Yeah, just like, subscribe, share it around, and hopefully this channel can grow and I can keep producing content you guys enjoy. But for now, if there's no more questions, you got a minute to go if you want to get a quick question in, and then I'll probably head off. Hopefully I've answered everybody in here. Yeah, too many projects will mean possible dilution unless they sell on a few. Exactly. They may divest some of them, which will provide them money for the other stuff. Thank you, Meredith. That was ace midweek. We appreciate for the knowledge transfer. No problems. Favorite retro game? Good question. I'm playing Final Fantasy VII at the moment, the original, because I played the remake and absolutely loved it. So that's what I'm currently on. But favorite retro game? I am an absolute fanboy of Doom. Doom, the original PS1 Doom. It's just, I've got to play the new ones. Love them. It's just one of my favorite games. You having a beer? Oh, I don't have any beers in, I'm afraid. I've got a kiddies drink. I've got Ribena. I think that is everything. Cool. Right, I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you so much. As I said, like, subscribe, share it around. And yeah, thank you all for attending. Until next time. Cheers.